I'm here today with Jessie from Phoenix Park Farm. Now, my kids have just finished a whole term with you, Jessie. I didn't really know much about permaculture when they started, and they've taught me a whole lot about farming, caring for animals, river systems, patterns in nature, things like that that I haven't thought about. And they've really gained a lot of experience from these 10 weeks. From my understanding, you were a high school teacher. You were a science teacher for high schoolers. What inspired the change for your own educational group in farming?
I suppose firstly, farming is just in the blood.
Yeah.
So living on my parents' farm at the moment, and I remember growing up and growing pumpkins and grammars with my pop and picking up hay with my dad. So it was always something that I was really passionate about.
Yeah.
Always loved the outdoors. Always loved being out in the bush and the environment. But also just really passionate about working with kids and with young people. And I suppose I got to a point in my career as a teacher where I'd had enough of working indoors. I'd had enough of the system that I was working in, and I felt like there was a lot of work that I was doing as a teacher that wasn't productive and wasn't meaningful. I felt like my passions were working with kids, the environment and science. So my perfect job didn't exist. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to create it for myself. And I feel like that's what I've done here. I get to, every day I'm doing something different. Every day working with kids who are happy to be here, happy to learn. They're engaged, they're interested, they're asking questions. So it's a really lovely job to have.
How do you engage kids when they're learning outdoors?
Firstly, I think sort of in any learning environment, I think it's the most important thing is that you're supportive. You create a supportive environment and you have high expectations. You encourage kids when they need encouragement. You tell them when they're doing a good job. High expectations to me means that every kid can achieve. And for me, that's sort of my guiding philosophy in teaching, is that I always have high expectations for kids. No matter their ability level, no matter who they are, they can always do better, and I always expect them to do better. In terms of getting kids engaged out on the farm and learning, we have responsibility. So they have responsibility here to do certain jobs, whether that's watering the vegetables, whether that's feeding the animals. Giving them that responsibility is super important, and most kids absolutely love and thrive on that responsibility. When moving around a lot, I think is super important in terms of engaging kids. We're always doing something, we're learning by doing. We're not reading out of a textbook. Sometimes we'll sit under a tree or sit on a picnic table and discuss something, but it's something that they can see, they can touch, they can smell. It's all relevant, which is a super important thing to do as well. It's just making learning relevant. If kids don't see the importance of what they're doing, or they can't see a connection to their real life, it always makes it more difficult for them to learn.
If I've got parents here watching, they're educating their kids at home, they're wanting to teach their kids science outdoors. The concept can sometimes feel overwhelming, but I've seen science in practice right here, and I've seen that it's not overwhelming. I've seen that it's something that can be a daily thing that you do with the kids. How would you encourage parents to just get outside and teach their kids science?
Knowing their interests, knowing their abilities, knowing where they need help, knowing what they need to improve. If you know that, then you're 90% of the way to teaching your kids. I think it's enthusiasm and interest, I think, is really important. I personally am really interested in what I'm teaching, and I think that makes it really easy for me, and I think it's also makes it easy for the kids to get engaged. So choose something you're interested in, your child's interested in, whether that's plants, whether that's animals, whether that's the weather, whether that's rocks or rivers or whatever it is. That's probably the best place to start. And go out and observe, spend some time outside, think about the connections between things. It's amazing how interesting things are if you look at them through a magnifying lens or just look at them really, really closely. Start to ask questions. I think it's important for parents and for educators to realise that they don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
If you go out there and a kid asks you a particular question you don't know the answer to, well, it doesn't matter. I think that's a learning experience in itself that we can then go back. You know, the internet's a wonderful thing. There's so many.
Google it.
Yeah, exactly. Google it. Yeah, so I think without trying to complicate things, I think that would be the advice I'd give to people. Get out there, choose the thing they're interested in to start with.
Yeah.
Have a look, observe it, look for connections, ask some questions about things, Google the answers, do an experiment maybe.
Yeah.
Heaps of stuff.
That's great. I think one thing I've noticed homeschooling my kids is it's okay to say, I don't know, let's learn together. And you can totally do that with any subject, is learn the subject together and be okay to not know the answer straight away and find out at the same time as your kid does. Thanks so much, Jesse. Thanks for giving me your time. Thanks for giving my kids your time. They've really enjoyed themselves this term. I think they'll be back.
Yeah, thanks for bringing out your kids. It's been absolutely lovely educating your 2 young girls this term. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, great. Thank you.